Hello, my name is Trina Baker, and this is my podcast video that I've created for the course Introduction to Cognitive Psychology. And it is about the highlights of Chapter 2 of our text. And the chapter, it was titled Neural Foundations for Cognition. This week's chapter was all about the brain, which is appropriate since psychology deals with people's minds, especially with the text describing cognitive neuroscience as the study of how neural functions interact with and produce cognitive functions. I really enjoyed learning more about the science and physiological aspects of the brain and more about neuroscience, but whew, that was a lot of information, and I know that the textbook was likely only giving a summary of the information. So my brief summary of information that was presented in Chapter 2, or the Chapter 2 highlights, would be the information it presented about neurons, all their parts and makeup, how they work together to make up the neuronal system that is the brain's internal wiring. There was also several bits about neurotransmitters and their role in neuron-to-neuron communication and the role that they play in other parts of the brain. Then they also talked about the central nervous system, which is abbreviated CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, and gave some explanation of the jobs that they do. The main nervous system, or the central nervous system, being the brain and spinal cord, and then the peripheral nervous system being pretty much anything else, and how the brain gets the messages out through those systems and gets feedback through those systems. And then the rest of the chapter mostly focused on very detailed descriptions of the physical makeup of the brain, the many different sections of the brain, the specialized functions of each section, and how those sections work together, and the brain's adaptability and neuroplasticity. Although the chapter was a bit of an information dump, there were several things I found particularly interesting. Some of my favorite parts were the importance of each part of the brain working correctly and working together, even down to the level of neurons. If something is not working the way it's supposed to, or if a part is damaged so it cannot work correctly, it can cause big problems for the individual physically, in their cognitive abilities, or in their behavior, depending on what and where the trouble is in their brain. Almost contrary to what I just said, I also found the brain's ability to heal itself and adapt to new experiences to be especially amazing. So the majority of the chapter was going on about the importance of all the parts of the brain working correctly, working together, and the serious implications if even a seemingly small element goes awry. After ruminating on all that intricacy and interdependence in the brain, thinking about neurogenesis and neuroplasticity as the brain's natural means to get around damage and or adapt itself in order to try to continue functioning at the best of its ability is spectacular, to put it mildly. I'm especially interested in learning more about the research into neuroplasticity and its role in learning, relearning, and rehabilitation. I'm planning to check out one of the books that was referenced in the text. It was by Norman Doidge, I think is how you say his name. It was called The Brain That Changes Itself, and it talks about his research into neuroplasticity and some of the amazing stuff that came out of that. I'm also thinking about looking at some of his other works, and there's also some of the people he's collaborated with or that have done their own work on neuroplasticity, and I'm going to look into that. That's interesting to me. And honorable mention for this chapter was the Chapter 2, noting the contributions of Santiago Ramon y Cajal in the field of neuroscience. His detailed drawings of neurons help researchers and everyone else have a better understanding of how neurons work and communicate. I really like his backstory. I've heard about him before this class. He was considered a lackluster and problem student, even a delinquent in his younger days. But then in his 20s and adulthood, he decided to work at learning medicine and coupled it with his love of art. His perseverance and just his dedication to want to learn and succeed is really inspiring. In case you don't happen to be taking this class with me and you want to check out some of these things for yourself, I added the reference for the text that we are using in the class and a link to the publisher. To my knowledge, it is only available as an ebook and kind of as an ebook rental. But if you were interested in getting it, you could get it through the publisher or your college bookstore may carry it. Thanks for watching.